All right, so you go to the property appraiser's website and you search for, like in my town, it's east of South Atlantic Avenue, and you get every home or condo on the property appraiser's website. For me, it's 25 bucks. I send out a check to them. They send me back an Excel spreadsheet, and it has the address of the property and the address of the owner. So if those match, they're the same, delete them from your list. That property owner lives at the property site. But if the property owner doesn't live at the property site, then you have a connection. They don't live there. They live in New Jersey, or they live in Tennessee, they live in California. That is a person who doesn't live at that property that's oceanfront direct. So now you're going to send them a postcard. Hey, if you've never rented your property before, you might want to consider renting it now.
This is episode number 75 of the Short-Term Rental Success Stories podcast. Are you an investor that's looking to have your home professionally managed? Go to cohostit.com for more information. Welcome back to Short-Term Rental Success Stories. I'm your host, Julian Sage. This is a show where I talk to hosts about their journeys in starting and growing their short-term rental business. My goal is that you'll be able to walk away with practical information that'll help you become a better host and learn how to scale your business. Like any exceptional host, we all strive for 5-star reviews, so please go on over to iTunes and let us know what you enjoy, as it really helps support the show. If you haven't done so already, go on over to our Facebook group, The Host Nation, to connect with the community. Hey, what is going on, Host Nation? I'm super excited to be back again with you this week. So today I wanted to highlight some reviews that have come into the show. If you haven't done so, please go on over to iTunes, leave us a review, as it really does support, and it just lets me know that you guys are enjoying this content. We had a review come in from ejames8032 saying, 5 stars, great content. The topics are really great and helpful to hosts and investors. I also love hearing of all the success stories. Makes me even more confident in what we're doing. We have another 5 stars coming from Blake Dale saying that this is the place to come for awesome content on short-term rentals. We also had a 5-star come in on our second podcast, Vacation Rental Machine, that says from Avent Stay, they say thumbs up. So thank you so much, everybody, for the amazing reviews. And if you do enjoy this content, maybe you do like the way that I ask questions and I try to deep dig into finding really deep questions, then I'd also invite you to come and listen to our newest podcast, Multifamily Success Stories. If you're interested in multifamily investing, or you want to just be able to learn more about what is multifamily investing, it's been really exciting just to be able to talk to people that have, millions of dollars of properties under management and find out exactly what it is that they're doing to be able to grow their portfolios. It's a very different world than the short-term rental space, but if you are interested in real estate and trying to maybe incorporate different aspects of real estate investing into your portfolio, then I highly encourage you to go and listen to that show. Very similar to the Success Stories podcast, where we just talk to people and find out their stories, but really get some really powerful information from it. It's a learning experience for myself, so if you'd like to be able to join John and I, as John is also my co-host on the show whenever he does show up, then you can come and listen to us and follow us along that journey as well. If you want to be able to follow the show, go to multifsuccess.com. You can subscribe to the podcast from there. Today I have the special honor of speaking with Jennifer Frankenstein-Harris, the CEO and founder of Great Ocean Condos, a vacation rental management company located in New Smyrna Beach, Florida. Jennifer's company has grown to 265 rentals since 2008 and is grossing $6 million a year. In this episode, Jennifer shares her experience of falling into vacation rental management, what it was like to scale, the obstacles along the way, and her unique approach to growing her management company. If you'd like my show notes for this episode, go to shorttermsage.com/STR75, or if you'd like my show notes sent directly to your inbox every week, then go to shorttermsage.com/show notes. With all that being said, on to this week's conversation. Hey, welcome back, Host Nation, to another episode of Short-Term Rental Success Stories. In this episode, I have the special honor of speaking with Jennifer Frankenstein-Harris. Jennifer, would you please introduce yourself to the Host Nation and let them know who you are and what inspired you to get into short-term rentals?
Hello, I'm Jennifer Frankenstein-Harris. I'm in the New Smyrna Beach area of East Coast of Florida, just 20 minutes south of Daytona. And I was a public school teacher for 14 years. I had a child and decided I would stay home and homeschool my child. In the midst of that, we had a condo on the beach. And my rental manager asked me to bring him 4x6 prints so that he could show people how nice my condo was. And I thought, 4x6 prints, even in 2007, people were not walking off the street to look for the condo they wanted to rent. So after the ridiculousness of a year of no revenue, I decided I would start Great Ocean Condos and manage my own unit. And I doubled my income in a year, which then led my neighbors to say, "Can you help me?" And I said, "Sure." And now we have over 300 properties that we manage.
Wow. Okay. So someone reached out to you and they said, "Hey, just just share a photo of your property." Like they were trying to market the property for you, and it wasn't going anywhere. So you said, "I can do a whole lot better than this."
Correct. My condo manager in the building, they didn't take credit cards. They were open 9-ish to 5-ish, which was like 10 to 4, and rarely in the office. Didn't know what the internet was, rarely answered the phone, took $500 checks in the mail for deposits. Actually, I think back then it was like $200 for my like $9,000 3 months, right? So, yeah, I just thought there's an opportunity here because this is not how travel's booked.
Now, this condo, was this for the sole intent you purchased this property, or when you tried renting it, it was as a vacation rental, or was this as a traditional long term rental?
It was as a vacation rental. We had some friends who had a condo, and we were very modest people. The market was just coming down, so we found what we thought was a really good deal on a property if we could rent it for X amount of time. And like I said, the rental manager in my building just wasn't tech savvy. He wasn't internet savvy, and he certainly wasn't interested in rentals. He was the community association manager. So he focused on property management, not really on vacation rental management.
And so you had no experience, and this was 2008. Was this right before or after the recession?
It was just as we were going in, and that was okay because a lot of our market is drive market. So when people started not taking those big vacations to Europe or taking the family, across the country to Yosemite, they were just driving over to the beach for a vacation. So we didn't feel too much of that, honestly.
So there was your property manager really wasn't experienced in vacation rentals. He said, "Hey, these little photos aren't going to do it. I need to take control in my own hands." So you just dove in. What was that experience like with that first property, trying to market it back? Before we had, um, you know, uh, as much interest on like Verbo and HomeAway and all these different channels. Like, how are you marketing your property back then?
Well, it was back then VRBO, Vacation Rentals by Owners. It was not Verbo, the chic name now. Um, I woke up one morning and I honestly said to myself, like, I'm not going to bed tonight until I get my property up on VRBO. Like, I was determined to do it. Now, I'm like this middle-aged mom homeschooling her kids. I was a middle school band director. I had not really even texted anything at that point, let alone like I had a flip phone. So I wasn't taking like pictures on my phone. I mean, this sounds silly, but like I had to figure out how to take pictures on my camera and then get those uploaded onto my VRBO ad. This was hard in back then in 2008. But I was that morning, I'll never forget it. I put my feet on the floor and I said, I'm not going to bed tonight till I get this done. Right after I bought my property, 6 weeks later, my dad passed away. We had fixed up the property together, and he left me our home in Vermont, which my family had since 1911. So I thought, wow, I have to get this property rented. There's no way I can take care of um, my condo on the beach and my dad's home in Vermont, my great grandfather's home in Vermont. So I was extremely motivated. And like that first year I had my property, I made 13,000. The next year I made 26,000. And I will never forget that, like that doubling point, like I did this. And so my neighbors, they saw, you know, guests coming in one after the other. And they're just like, gosh, you always have somebody in your property. How are you doing that? And, it was everything from, I would set up a tea tray on the bed and a little devotional and some nice teas. And I'd put Hershey bars on the kids' beds, and I cleaned myself, and I made sure everything was just perfect. I just wanted it to be a place where if I could get the same people coming back over and over, I would have a guaranteed I can do this. So I just started kind of sharing those tips with other people. And that led to Great Ocean Condos.
So that property, I mean, literally doubling from one year to the next, that all you really credit to just a good experience, or were you doing anything different for marketing besides just putting it on VRBO at the time?
Well, I'm sure the world will agree with me on this, but I was being nice to people. Go figure, right? My cam manager wasn't near as nice to people as I was. So I was just being extremely hospitable. I'd get back to people right away. I would get things, really beautiful for their arrival. I'd communicate during their stay if they needed anything. It was we've tried to remain personal, with over 300 properties, it's really hard to remain personal, but it's very, very important to be personal at this day and age.
So people saw you being able to fill this property, and these other owners, they purchased these properties with the intent of like, hey, this is my vacation rental. I'm just going to use it temporarily, but it's not getting booked because this other property manager had all of these properties, and they're looking at you and they're saying, hey, what are you doing, Jennifer? Is that basically how it went?
That's exactly what happened. And there was he also felt this way, this previous property manager, which listen, I credit this man with me being able to start my business. So there's a silver lining and a positive thing in everything. He did not want me to charge more for my property. See, when I was on VRBO in the month of March, I was getting hundreds of inquiries on my property. And I thought, wow, I think I booked this for too little money. I mean, if these inquiries are still coming in, then I should have charged more. So I raised the price by 50% for the next year. And I was still getting hundreds of inquiries for the same property. So I realized most companies were renting out the month of March as a snowbird month. But if I rented it weekly, instead of doing 2,500 for the month, I could do 1,500 a week and I would get it. And so I was getting it. So that was a big, kind of moment of, all right, the more people are calling, the more inquiries they have. And when your inventory is zero, that's when you need to look at your pricing and say, don't be afraid to wait. I didn't need to get it booked. If the guest didn't book before they left, then I wouldn't be booked for next year. I kind of block it out and just wait for everybody to fill up so that I could be the last one in town and charge whatever I wanted.
So what was that experience like? You have this property that you're trying to take control yourself, and now people are looking at you and they're saying, what is Jennifer doing? How is she able to fill it? And now people are coming in and they're approaching you saying, can you do the same for my property? What was going through your head at that point?
It was just an immediate yes. I mean, by that time, I was homeschooling my kids and really working on my property, and doing one property or doing five properties was pretty much the same. It wasn't too much harder because I was already answering inquiries and talking to people anyway. And the real secret sauce was the fact that I knew how to manage the rates. We had 52 rates a year instead of a high season rate and a low season rate. The rate changed every week because starting January 1st in Florida, every week the weather gets warmer and warmer and nicer and nicer. We had this little race called the Daytona 500. Then we have this little thing called Bike Week in Daytona. Nobody was charging more for those weeks. If you tried to get a bed between St. Augustine and Cocoa Beach on the east coast of Florida the third week of February, you couldn't. So there were times where I could rent that one week for as much as people were getting for an entire month. So looking at activities and things that are going on in town. So I have these owners where I'm making them a tremendous amount more money, plus their property is less used sometimes, right? We may not get one of those weeks filled. So they could use their property, enjoy it more, while have less wear and tear while making more money. It was eye-opening. Now I can confidently say that the other three companies in town are doing the same thing, which is fantastic because rising tides raise all ships. I'm glad to have started that off. But it's, for a lot of us who buy these investment properties for our future and our retirement, you have to maximize your revenue while you can. And every day is important. Every single day that you can take a price and manipulate it to the highest level that you can for the market and what's going on, that's what everybody should be looking at. That's what the hotels look at. Yes. That's what the airlines look at.
What were some of the most challenging parts when you first started? Managing one property versus managing 7 or 10 is probably very different.
Well, the first and foremost challenge was just being the person in your community to step out and say, I'm not going to use the on-site office. I'm going to do this myself instead, because that was kind of unheard of. And the community association was led by a board of directors who were average age of 75 years old. So it was, who's that young girl kind of coming in here and telling us we need to take credit cards? That's crazy. They'd have like this trifold brochure that they used, right, to get rentals. So that was a huge challenge. And I even after all this time in New Smyrna Beach, and we're an island with only 2 hotels on the sand, which is that's another unheard of thing in Florida. So everything there is a privately owned condo and home. There are lots of condo complexes where CAM managers do the rentals, and they're not always the specialist in vacation rentals, right? I would never claim to be a specialist at being a CAM or property manager. I don't have the skill set for that. But I did develop the skill set for being a fantastic vacation rental manager, largely because of my association with the Florida VRMA and the National VRMA to just help educate me. As I was a teacher, education was just naturally, how am I going to learn to do this? And if I'm going to do it, I'm going to be the best at it. So how do I do that?
So how soon did you start to scale up when people started seeing, you being able to perform? How soon did things really start to pick up for your business?
I'll be honest. I mean, I didn't take a paycheck for 26 months because everything went into the company. So when I got that first paycheck, which was $5,000 on month 26, I just thought it was so much money. Wow, this was so fantastic. And then I was like, well, wait a second. I worked almost 2.5 years for this $5,000, but I was loving what I was doing. So it felt rewarding. But it honestly, I think around year 3, the beginning of year 3, I thought, I can't do this anymore. I need to sell this thing because it's too much work. And we almost did that. We went to one of the local guys in town, and he kind of laughed at us and said, I've got my own company. What do I need your company for? He had 300 properties and we had like 45. And now I have like over 300 and he has like 250. Which is great. We're friends. We talk all the time. But I remember that and thinking, wow, I could have been out of this business at that point. And so really take off, go crazy. I think it was year 6. It took a full 6 years because we went from 120 properties to 240 properties that year 6. And then by the time year 8 came, we had gotten to 300, and I decided that I needed to let some of these really high maintenance owners go because they were just sucking the life out of my staff. And they, just nothing was ever quite good enough, no matter how hard we tried, or they were always angry, just angry people. They would curse at somebody on my staff, which is never allowed. So I just started letting people go. Of course, it was not my idea. I would just say, my staff was so happy about it, but I would just say, I'm so sorry that I couldn't meet your expectations. And I'm sure there's a company out here there that's going to, and we wish you all the best. We didn't want it to be, you know, ugly, but there is a point where you have to say, look, this homeowner is not a cultural fit for my company. I mean, this is a very tough business. I'm sure all your listeners know this. It's from every aspect, from marketing to cleaning to maintenance to owners to guests and all of the various needs. You're not going to be 100% perfect. But my staff is the type of staff who will beat themselves up if they're not perfect. So when they're trying their hardest and doing an amazing job, but they just can't make Mr. Smith happy, Mr. Smith's got to go.
So going back a little bit, you said that first 2 years you didn't take a paycheck. What was the reason? Like, what were you putting into the business that you weren't able to realize any profit during that time?
We would just get the best of everything, whether it was, really nice keychains back when there were keychains, right? Really nice keychains. We'd get the heavy, nice metal ones, or really nice products for the property, or SEO, right? And marketing. We were doing Google AdWords. We just, every bit of money went right back into the company. So there was no like extra money to spare.
So you're spending, money into trying to make the places better, trying to create that experience, trying to also grow the business through the marketing. But you said it wasn't until around year 6 that you really started to see things turn around. What do you think was different from year 2 versus around that 6-year mark when things really took off?
Well, I decided to put more money into my owner relations and really like developing a really nice welcome package for owners who were thinking about signing up with us. We developed an owner's guide and we had it, bound in a nice cover and nice information. We do an owner folder with all their materials. We get some, nice little tchotchkes with our stuff, send them a bottle of wine, just things that kind of elevated us to say, hey, your business is important to me and I'm going to wine you and dine you until you come over, especially, nicer properties. There was a time where we would take any property. It didn't matter, you know, what when people say, "Oh, I just renovated my property. It's beautiful." And, "Oh, well, when'd you do that?" 1997. And you go, "Oh my gosh, I just renovated mine in 2015. It's time to do the whole thing over." So, we started to get really selective about the properties we took, and I think as the level of property we took was higher, people, like, held us in a higher esteem, like, because I didn't name it, like, Mediocre Ocean Condos. The name of my company is Great Ocean Condos, so I couldn't take lesser or mediocre condos. I had to take a really nice product so that people knew when they were coming, they were gonna get, a cream of the crop. Um, so that's mind levels have changed on that. There is a market for an economy line. But if you manage a property, everything has to work and it has to be clean, period. No matter what. Those are two things that have to happen. So there is, there definitely is a market for families who want to travel on an economy line, and Florida beach vacations are, ask any kid who grew up in Florida, they went to the beach every summer. Which condo did you stay at? Which house did you stay at? Everybody does that.
So the big difference, you said you were spending more effort in the client acquisition side. So, creating a better experience for just onboarding the people and being more selective as opposed to trying to put lipstick on a pig is kind of what you're saying.
That's exactly what I'm saying.
And so what was your mindset, or what was that challenge? Because probably there's a lot of hosts that are listening right now where it's like, I don't have any properties, I don't have any experience, but I want to be able to grow this business. So whatever properties are available, they might start trying to take them on. What do you think? Should people not be super selective in the beginning? That's only something you can do once you have that experience and that track record?
That's a great question. Some people will tell you don't do that. Don't take on any property because you're developing your brand right from the start. But that's not my area and not my business mindset, because I had to get to a level of properties where people at least gave me a second look and said, "Oh, well, she has 50 properties that she's doing, or she has 100 properties." When you're just the homeschooling, public school teacher trying to be a vacation rental manager, that's not super easy. I mean, you have to set yourself apart from being warm and hospitable. And that was a big difference back then too. In 2008, there weren't a lot of warm and fuzzy vacation rental managers out there. So I can't answer that question for everybody, but for me, taking on every property that we could till we got to the point where I said, okay, now we can start weeding out some of the problems and issues. And I don't think like you should just fire an owner if they're difficult. You should do everything you can to work with your difficult owners, because I will tell you, in this business, I have learned more from those difficult owners than probably anything. Because they're difficult, but sometimes they're right, and you have to take a second look at your processes and the product and how you're managing their property and taking care of them. Everybody should feel like, how many units do you manage? One, the unit of the person I am on the phone with. I only manage your property. Now, what do you need from us today? How can I help you? Because it's a business relationship between you and that individual owner. And sometimes it's a business relationship between you and the wife, owner and you and the husband owner, because the husband and wife don't agree, and you're trying to do things and one's telling you one thing and one's telling you another thing. So literally you have 600 relationships out there that you're trying to juggle, and it's important. That's where you learn the most. That makes you or it breaks you.
How important do you think is, that relationship that you're setting and that customer service that you have with the owner as opposed to the guest? Because, I'm not saying, one is better than the other, but what do you think is the primary focus or the greatest return? Can you have better owners that understand you more and properties that aren't able to maybe perform as well, or vice versa? Like, what if you're a really good host, but you're not as good on the client acquisition side as vice versa?
So both are important, but one is more important than the other, right? The owner relationship is more important than the guest relationship. I hope none of my guests are listening to this today, right? Because we care for our guests and we do everything we can for our guests. But the bottom line is, when your company is larger, you can replace a guest a lot easier than you can replace a property. And you would not have a guest were it not for that property that you are caring for and managing for that owner. So your owner relationship is your number one relationship and your guest is number two. You know, I think acquiring a guest and keeping the guest is where, some of us fail, because if you get too focused on just bringing on more properties, you forget that you have to have people to book those properties. So when you are thinking through the process of what is a guest going to go through to find the right property to book, what experience are they going to have when they speak to you the first time, what's the first correspondence via email they're going to get, how quickly are they going to get replied to, and what are you going to say? Are you going to offer them a welcome package? Are they going to get, a call during their stay? How are you going to nurture that relationship with your guests? Those are extremely important things. We used to think at, at the beginning of the business, like the best guests we had booked online, never complained. They checked in, they checked out. We never heard from them. We never saw them. Done. That was, if that happened, we made it. That is not the case anymore, because they'll go to VRBO and Airbnb and never know Great Ocean Condos. They'll never even think twice about Great Ocean Condos. That we have been able to turn that tide in our company. We used to book maybe 20% direct and 80% through OTAs. And now we're about 60-40 where people are booking direct. I mean, we talk to our guests, whether it's on social media, an email they receive from us, a written postcard in the mail. When Governor DeSantis shut us down for 56 days, we sent about 2,000 postcards to our guests, a sunrise from New Smyrna Beach with our logo, and just said, when you're ready to travel again, we're going to be here for you. The care and safety of your family is important to us, and we can't wait to have you back. The sun will come up. That was a huge thing for us. We just had the biggest July in the history of our company. We usually book around $900,000 in rental revenue in July. We were close to 1.3 million this July, just from the 1st to the 31st. So I honestly believe that nurturing those relationships with our guests are what have brought people back to us. Plus, you advertise all the time that you have the low price guarantee, right? If you come direct to me, you're not going to pay a service fee to VRBO or HomeAway. So we have the low price guarantee now. That's a big marketing tool that every vacation rental manager should be using.
And can you explain the low price guarantee for maybe those that aren't aware of what that is?
Sure. If you book directly with Great Ocean Condos, either online or by calling one of my agents, then you will not pay the VRBO service fee. Sorry, I can't call it VRBO, right? It's Verbo. It's so chic. You won't pay the Verbo service fee, which sometimes is hundreds and hundreds of dollars. Who knows what percent it is anyway? Sometimes it's 8, sometimes it's 12, whatever that service fee is, it's hundreds of dollars. Same with Airbnb. And travelers who don't know, like I was talking to somebody just yesterday and they had booked something on Airbnb. They don't know like that Airbnb and they get a fee from me for booking my property and a fee from the traveler for booking that property. And they're like, they're double dipping. That's right. Double dipping. You know that term. They double dip from everybody. That's correct. So that's the low price guarantee. So we have a program called Your Opinion Matters a Latte. It's a cup of coffee with our logo on it. We send them a $10 Starbucks gift card if they give us a Google review. Even if it's not a 5-star Google, it doesn't matter what it is. If you do this, your opinion matters a latte. But on the back of our review solicitation postcard that we leave for the guest in the property, we have the low price guarantee. We show them the VRBO price, the Airbnb price, and we show them the Great Ocean Condos price. This is why you should come direct to us. Start your search here. In all likelihood, we have what you're looking for. Plus, you have a real person who's not in a call center, God knows where. They're right here waiting to talk to you in New Smyrna.
I definitely want to hit on your marketing tactics, but I want to go back a little bit to that growth stage for you. What was that first big pain point that you saw? Around 45 properties, you said, like, I'm ready to throw in the towel. I'm ready to sell off this business. What was happening during that time that was so stressful and how did you resolve that?
I hired an employee. That was the biggest thing because I hadn't made hardly any money at that point, and thinking of like hiring an employee where now I was going to have to pay them and I still wouldn't be making money. It was still the right decision to hire that employee. So, and that person's my general manager, Maggie Egan, and she's a godsend. She's just an angel. She's been with me 11 years and she's amazing. Um, I think she's synonymous with Great Ocean Condos. People think of Maggie because she handles the day-to-day everything. Couldn't do anything without her. Shout out to Maggie. And anybody out there who tries to steal her away from me, I will find you. So don't think about it. But that was the big thing. I had to hire an employee because I couldn't do it all. Remember, I was still homeschooling my kids. I had first grade going at one end of the table, fourth grade going at the other end of the table. I was in the middle of the dining room table, literally answering inquiries, trying to get people booked in properties. Then I was a flute instructor. I had 35 flute students. So I was doing that from 4 to 8 every day while I had a sitter come in and like get the kids ready for bed while I did that and get dinner going. So it was crazy and hectic. But that's a big decision for any person starting out in this business. When do you hire that employee? I could take a breath once I had Maggie. Just until like 3 years ago, I took every emergency call in my company. Nobody took an emergency call after 10 o'clock at night. It was me. So now I have Rebecca who does that. God love her. But this is an exhausting business. It really is. So you've got to hire good people. Maggie was homeschooling her kids too. We were actually doing duty together. Our kids went to a co-op, right? We were standing in the lunchroom. I said, "Hey, do you like it here?" And she said, "Why?" I said, "Would you want to work with me?" That's how it started. So I think it's a big decision, but if you're starting to get burnout and things are getting difficult for you, it's time to hire somebody.
Hey, this is Julian, and I wanted to be able to give you our newest book, Airbnb Secrets Revealed, How to Build a Fortune on Airbnb Without Owning Property. In this book, we talk about the concepts of rental arbitrage investing as well as co-hosting and how you can build a business leveraging other people's properties. This book is perfect for the new short-term rental investor, and it's something that I wish that I had when I first started, as it would have saved me a lot of trouble and helped me to understand how to be able to leverage the power of short-term rental investing in your own real estate portfolio. If you'd like to get our newest book completely for free, go to shorttermsage.com/free book. Now, back to the show. So you hire somebody, you have a job though. You have something that's able to supplement your income alongside your business, correct? So the pain probably was a little bit lighter. It was still a pain, but you were able to take that. Some people that are hosting though, they might be in a position where it's like, they have, a portfolio properties, but now they've decided to quit their job so they can do this full time to be able to manage the business. But now it's like they're dependent on this income. So they're really in a tough spot where it's like, should I hire someone and, cut my income in half? Or should I, how do I resolve these things? How would you suggest for hosts that are in that position?
That's a tough question. Wow. I guess I could say I don't really know the answer. I mean, because every situation is going to be different. I mean, I'm a huge Shark Tank fan, right? So anytime you tell a shark on Shark Tank that you didn't quit your job and you're 100% in the business, they would look at you and go, well, you're not invested then. I don't think that's true. I was completely invested. I loved what we were doing and what we were building. I think that's just a personal decision. I mean, you've got to be able to support yourself and you've got to be able to have something while you do that. And, listen, I'm the girl couldn't, who didn't send texts and had a flip phone when I started the business. Okay. So it's everything I did was hired out to other companies. Like, okay, who can build me a great website? Okay. Who's got really good software that I can afford? That's it. Look, the second part is important. Who's got really good software that I can afford? How I didn't do it. I had to hire companies to do it. And I had to do the research and put my trust in those companies' hands because those companies helped me build the business, as much as myself or my staff did. So those are just really personal decisions on what you're going to invest in, what you're going to do. I mean, it's a great industry. I hate calling it industry. I like to call it a community. The vacation rental world is a great community. And it's, I think, a very profitable community if you do it right. And, one of the ways we do things right is, we have a written process and a tech note for everything that we do. So there's no question about how to handle situations. And when difficult situations come up, we create a process for that, or we create an auto signature in Outlook. How are we going to respond to that so that the whole company responds the same? Here is what we are going to say to address this issue. If you keep spinning the wheel and recreating over and over and over those emails and those processes, or teaching another person how to do it, when you could have written the process down in the first place, put a tech note together, handed it out to every employee, and be done with it. Now I don't get that call 18 times. We have 16 employees now. So that's, I think, a huge plus in building your business, and I guess I'm off tangent of your question, but how do you know you have to make those decisions, quit your job or not quit your job? You have to support your family or whatnot. You can't quit your job, obviously. But you have to also have the passion and love to build a hospitality centered business. And if you have that and you have the heart to, and you're open to education and learning, you can do it.
So you hired that first employee, and that saved you time. What Now you have another person though, and you're still scaling at this point, I imagine. What was that second big roadblock that you hit? So you're around 50 properties when you hired someone, correct?
Yes.
And then what was that second major challenge obstacle that you hit along?
I think it was property care was a really big one, because the bigger you get, I mean, you have to we don't hire our cleaners, we subcontract the cleaning out. So you have to find cleaning companies that have the standard that you have. And this is the hardest thing in our business. Every property being cleaned and perfectly prepared for a guest's arrival. That is the hardest thing about what we do. So once we had so many properties and we were going through cleaning companies like nobody's business. I mean, we had let so many go. I mean, our island is only so big. How many more companies are we going to go through? I think we let probably close to 15 go. And we have 13 now that we work with. They've been with us for years and years. That's a growing pain because you've got to find good staff to maintain your properties. And the other big decision around that time was to increase the guest cleaning fee. Not to give my cleaners a raise because I felt like my cleaners were already being paid at the top of the market, but to hire a property inspector who was going to go in before the guest came in and stage everything. I mean, make the forks straighten the pots and pans. Nothing's worse than coming in and like opening up the Tupperware drawer and it just blows up on you, or having a gross sponge on the sink, all those little details. So they would come in and just fluff everything up, wipe down the counter with Windex because if it wasn't a back-to-back turn, it could have been a week before, somebody was in there last, just to freshen up, spruce it up, go ahead and turn the AC down, open up those blinds so that when they walk in, they just, you feel that wow of vacation. So that was a big decision, and that paid off. We now have 5 property inspectors.
What was the reason why you decided to keep on using contractors? I mean, you said you've been through around 15 or so different teams throughout the years. Uh, that's what if you've been struggling so much with finding reliable people, reliable other companies that could fit your standards, why not hire that in house?
Would you like to run a cleaning company? Would you like to hire cleaners? Would you like to manage the cleaners? Yeah. No. I wanted to be I wanted to do the hospitality and the vacation rental and the marketing, the creative things we love. I did not want to that's basically starting another company. I would rather there people who own cleaning companies really have like a passion for cleaning and really have just an eye for detail and a passion for making things just right, in a clean, and they hire and train their people to do that. That's what I did with the vacation rental community. I don't want to do that with the cleaning community. I'd rather hire expert professionals in that than try to do that myself.
But when you're in these smaller locations where there's not going to be maybe a whole lot of people there, trying to be able to have your standards met. Like a lot of our listeners are in, they're in the urban areas where maybe there's not a lot of vacation cleaners or vacation people. Maybe they don't even really know about short-term rentals, but they're trying to find people that can take care of their properties. How do you make sure that the properties are meeting your standard when a contractor, is you have to treat them differently than how you would treat someone that you would hire on, as far as like your procedures, or contractors. It's typically like they have to already know what they're doing. They already have to have the job. An employee has to, you're able to fit them around your standards. So how did you work around that?
How would I do that if I were in an urban market? I would probably go to someone who might be a really trusted, reliable person and say, "Hey, do you want to start a business? Because I have a great business that you could start. Would you be interested in starting a cleaning company and hiring and employing cleaners? I can go through with you cleaning standards and what our expectations are." My company wrote a cleaning manual for our cleaning companies with checklists, with products, with how we wanted certain things cleaned and presented. So you could I've done this. I've helped people start a business and get it running, and they're fantastic. But I went to them and said, "Look, you're really hardworking, and you really you're entrepreneurial. Would you want to start a business that could piggyback on my business, and it could be mutually beneficial for both of us?" I mean, that would be one way to do it. We had to actually we bring people in from Orlando now as well, and is that convenient? It's an hour drive out to the beach. Not maybe not so convenient, but you pay for that. There's a price for that, and you have to pay for that because your cleans have to be fantastic, especially now, with the world and COVID, and it's like the cleaning standard that was so incredibly high before is like twice that now. Now, like if there's a Cheerio under the couch, it's like this place is full of COVID. I found Cheerio under the couch. I mean, like no offense to all of our guests out there in the world, but like there's no COVID in there because that Cheerio's been there for like a few months. I trust me, it's been there for a few months. So it's just that's a tough part of the business. I'm sure all of your listeners can, identify with that.
So you've overcome the obstacles of finding that first employee, hiring a bunch of different cleaning teams, and your business is still growing. What to where it is today, I imagine. What were some of the was there another obstacle that you kind of faced once you had to go through a bunch of different cleaners to where you are now?
Well, I think the employee, aspect is a really tough one for a lot of business owners because we have 16 employees, but I've probably, had another 20 that aren't with me anymore because this is not a business for the faint of heart, right? If you're a reservationist on the phone, you're going to get that call of somebody who's, air conditioner is broken and they're not happy, or they found a hair on the toilet seat, all those kind of crazy things that can happen. And it's a very difficult business, and growing employees and keeping employees is a really, tough part of that. But I think, one of the next steps was, as I looked at like some of the different condo complexes in our town, there still is a huge need for a technology forward company with a real heart for hospitality, who will manage the vacation rentals like they should be managed, which they are individual, privately owned investment properties for these owners. And so many owners don't realize that they still have a community association manager managing their vacation rental. They don't even know what a Google AdWord is. They still may have a Microsoft Expressions website, right? They don't even they have no idea what WordPress is or what vacation rental software is. Case in point, we just took over the rental office at a condo complex on our island, and we walked in, and the reservations they really are in a reservation book written down in pencil, so that if someone cancels, they can erase it. And the guest deposits really are on a 3x5 card in a recipe box. Like, that's where their deposits are held. And there's no software to say, how much did we make? How much are the rates on these units? How many times did it book last year? We were handed a stack of paper, and we're going through right now and putting those reservations into the system. And I feel so proud that like my company is going to be the company that comes in and really assists these individual owners in maximizing their rates and their occupancy and treating their home like it's our home. And no shame to the people who were there before. They just were not vacation rental managers. Like, this is our sole job, which goes back to the question, should I quit my job? I guess you should, because there you go. This is your sole job. And if you're going to be good at it, then you really have got to educate yourself on what are the best tools that you're going to be able to utilize to build your customer base with owners, properties, and your customer base with guests.
So before, when you had those few properties and you were picking them up, you were taking properties that were already part of like a managed condo building, so they had some type of person there. But what you're saying now is you've actually set up a relationship with the building itself, where you're taking over that management of the building. So that how does that work? This must be pretty unique.
In Florida, condominium associations have to separate association business from rental business. So they actually have to be two separate entities. They can't be commingled. So we've proposed to condominium complexes that we would be able to come in and take over the rental portion of the association and manage the rental units, so that the association could hire their own community association manager and take care of the property. Because, some of these properties have like underground parking with electronic gates and pools on the 5th floor, and a lot of things that have to be maintained around the building, let alone elevators, maintenance, concrete restoration, all of the things that go on in a complex. So we really propose that, this is not one job anymore. This really is two jobs. If you want to do the best job for your owners in maximizing their investment property, you need to have an expert in that. And if you want to have a really well, pristine, maintained property, you need to have a community association manager for that. So we've actually done that now in 2 complexes, and we have a third one that we're talking to about coming in and doing that. So it has to be mutually beneficial. So when you go out and try to obtain this type of relationship, what we've done is we've rented the office space in the building, and that's how the association benefits financially, because we can pay them a rent. Unless the association has a broker's license in Florida, they can't take a commission. So getting a % of commissions on reservations is not an option for most of the condominium associations out there. But they can lease you part of their office space. And in exchange for that lease money, then they're still making somewhat of a profit on the rentals.
So what you're basically doing is the building itself is separately owned, and the management is separately managed. So you're basically proposing to a whole building, instead of saying, hey, you can have a bunch of different managers in here. Instead, you could just have our management company take over all of these buildings. So any new person that comes in, they, they automatically get managed by your company, is what you're saying?
Well, we would become the on-site rental manager. So we would be there in the office. We'd staff the office with a person to handle all the guest needs. In I think in most states, but in Florida specifically, you can't tell somebody who they can use for a vacation rental manager. They can use anybody they want. Hence why we manage in 42 different complexes. We have several units in a lot of different complexes because some of them have on-site CAM managers doing the rentals, and a lot of people just kind of go with that because they're there. That's the mentality. Well, they're there on site, so I'm going to use them. Not always the best decision though, because they're not versed and knowledgeable about how to market and take care of a guest on their vacation and a vacation rental and marketing that vacation rental. Hence why we started Great Ocean Condos. So they can go with whoever they want, but people do tend to go with the on-site manager just because they feel like that person's there. Although, look, we all know this is not the way. This is not the way of the future. This is not how travel works anymore. Touchless entry, exit. They don't want to see you. They don't want you to hand them anything. They don't want you to talk to them. Now we go into the property. We leave the pool bands, the keys, the parking passes, hand sanitizer, of course, with our logo on it and telephone number because we want them to come back. So, that's, you don't really need to be on there, but there is some kind of weird comfort about going, you know what? Hey, Katie's there or Brandy's there on site, or, if I need something, I can call them. Like people don't even call anymore. Just text us, right? Send me an email, text me, cash app me, whatever.
So is this you going in and you taking over the on-site management for the property? Is this a strategy that a lot of larger vacation rental managers use for condos, or is this something that you kind of said like, hey, I see a gap where condos are not being managed correctly, and I can fill that need, and if I can make it a win-win situation, they can focus on taking care of the property, and I can focus on taking care of the individual units.
I hadn't seen this done before. This is just something in the condo building where I had bought that first unit and started Great Ocean Condos, is the first time where, the managers were leaving the on-site. They needed somebody. And so as an owner in the building, I said, hey, have you guys ever thought about separating the rental management away from the association management? Find a really good CAM and let us come in and do the vacation rental management portion of it. We already managed 28 in the building because that's where I started Great Ocean Condos. That's where people had started asking me, hey, can you help me? Can you help me? Since we've come on site 4 years ago, we've increased revenue for our own, 82% of our owners there. So it's been really successful. We went from 28 properties to 85 properties there.
And it was because you set that relationship up with the building owners, or the CAM. I'm not sure what the CAM is.
Well, the CAM is the community association manager. So that's the property manager. We're the vacation rental manager. So it's two completely separate entities. The CAM essentially works for the association. Me as the vacation rental manager, I am a tenant. They're my landlord. And I'm coming in to be on site to help manage the vacation rentals on site, if that makes sense.
And the CAM has the authority to be able to have you be able to handle all of the on-site or all of the unit property management.
So it's not, we don't do property management. We do vacation rental management. So property management, we consider things like they take care of the landscaping, the pool, the elevators, the outside of the building. With the individual unit owners, we have contracts with each individual unit owner to be their vacation rental manager. So we have established a business relationship with each of those owners where we handle their booking, marketing, cleaning, maintenance, everything to do with their vacation rental. So it's two completely separate entities.
And this structure is for all different types of vacation rentals, or is this unique to Florida? Like, could you do this in a ski resort where there is an association that allows vacation rentals? Is it always going to kind of be similar?
I think it's a fantastic model. I think it can be used anywhere because so many places that you go to, you still have this antiquated setup of a person who is a property manager who's trying to bring renters in and out of a property, but they really don't have a skill set of how to market that or how to prepare the property properly, or how to develop an online booking system website. There's too many holes in that. Whereas if you have a professional doing both, like a professional community association manager who knows Florida Statute 718, that's the condominium law, that's different than my Florida Statute 509 vacation rental license, where I'm kind of the expert in that field. So I think anyone who's managing now in condominium complexes where there's an opportunity to possibly bring on more properties by forging a relationship with the association, it's a win-win for everyone.
Wow, Jennifer, I think people's minds are being blown right now, and that's pretty crazy, because you're basically like in the multifamily space. You have the multifamily owner, and the owner could be vertically integrated, where they have they also have the management in place, or they just hire out the management. And kind of what you're doing is you're being the manager for all of these units, allowing them to be able to focus just on the association building upkeep, if that's what I'm understanding.
Exactly. It's
So
really a win-win. So once we started with our first property, um, we've had the opportunity to talk to a few other associations, and it's kind of it's starting to grow. And when I've come in and seen like the systems that are in place, it's when I said before, like I feel really proud to be the person to come in and really help these owners. I mean, it's really just, this is what we were meant to do. We were really built our company to help owners maximize their revenue on this investment property that they purchased, while at the same time caring for it like it's our own home and providing these incredible vacations to people where they can make memories with their family. It's like a trifecta. So when we walked in and saw like, wow, look at the impact and difference we can make here. Now, look, transitions, I'm making this sound like, ponies and unicorns and fuzzy lollipops and cotton candy. It's not, okay? It's very difficult. Change is hard, right? Those are the three big words next to I love you. Change is hard. So having to come in and change the processes of how everybody's always used to doing this. Well, I've heard things like, they always just put a key in an envelope and put it between my storm door and my door. Why can't you just do that? Because it's not secure. I mean, because I don't leave keys under mats. I don't know. I mean, just all the details of, what do you mean if I want to block my property, I have to go online and block my property? Yeah. You got to go online, just make your own reservation. Let me know if you want me to clean it or not. It's change is hard, but you have to hold hands, walk through it together, beg them for 12 months to show them your worth. I know it's hard right now, but we're going to get through this and you're going to be so pleased with our services. It's really a wonderful, beautiful thing in the end. And just knowing, throughout this 13 years that I've been in business, there's been many owners that we've helped them save their home. They were going to be foreclosed on. They were going to lose their home, until we came in and took over the marketing and really started generating meaningful revenue on some beautiful properties. So it's incredibly rewarding, but it's a tender relationship, and you walk through it slowly. And if any of your listeners out there want help or have questions on this, they want to reach out to me personally, feel free to do that, and we could talk through that. But I honestly feel like I said at the beginning, rising tides raise all ships. When we get community association managers out of the vacation rental business, where they are not professional vacation rental managers and they don't care for properties, guests, marketing, websites, taking credit cards, rental rules, all of those things that we need to really raise this industry to a professional level, we're all winners there. When that happens, we're all winners.
And how do you go about creating that win-win relationship with the CAM, if they're really old school, they're maybe managing some of the properties themselves? How do you approach someone that is of that kind of older mindset and say like, hey, I'd like to be able to do this for you?
That's a tough one. No one wants to hear that they're not good at their job or that you want to do their job for them, right? I haven't mastered that yet, so I won't be able to give an answer on that.
Jennifer, you're doing something, right? I mean, you're doing it yourself. All the listeners, they're like, tell me what is this? How do you set up that relationship? I've got this cranky old property manager that the Cam that they don't want me anywhere near their condo. How do I work with them and say like, hey, I want to make your job easier. It's mutually beneficial.
Well, it's like America, right? It's a majority rules. So you've got to get the majority. You've got to get the majority on your side. And once that happens, then people will start coming with you. So not necessarily will the relationship happen with the CAM. The relationship will happen with owners in the building, and that will grow because they will talk about how much revenue they're making and how their property is being cared for. That's a tough one. That's what held us out for the first decade of our business, right? We've really just been able to develop this program in the last 4 years. But I will tell you, with COVID-19, everybody out there needs to realize this. These opportunities are being born because of this crisis. Okay, there are more and more non-professionals out there who cannot handle this business right now. They can't handle all of the different things that just go in with cleaning and preparation and marketing and the questions. And we all went through months of, do you refund? Do you cancel? Do you reschedule? Dealing with chargebacks, dealing with travel insurance companies. Some people did not make it out of this. So I hate to say that this is a great time to market, but this is a really great time to market. I wish I had our latest postcard here because it's $100 bill in the sand, and it says you could be making tens of thousands of dollars on your vacation rental. Give us a call. Let us show you how. There's that's the second opportunity, right? There's an opportunity now because of the economy. People may need to start renting their property. So people you didn't market to before for whatever reason, those may be the people that you need to market to now, because now they lost their job. They do need to rent out their vacation home. So, that's you've got to gently capitalize on that, but I wouldn't call it capitalizing on it. I mean, look, they need help, and like you're the person to help them. So put yourself out there and market yourself to be that person to help them.
And for right now, are you because you set up that relationship with the CAM that you're able to market to those individual owners, or does it not matter? Like if the person doesn't actually live there because it's a vacation rental, how are you getting their information to be able to say, hey, I can help you increase your profit even during all of this time where maybe they are hurting right now?
All right, so you go to the property appraiser's website and you search for, like in my town, it's east of South Atlantic Avenue, and you get every home or condo on the property appraiser's website. For me, it's $25. I send out a check to them. They send me back an Excel spreadsheet, and it has the address of the property and the address of the owner. So if those match, they're the same, delete them from your list. That property owner lives at the property site. But if the property owner doesn't live at the property site, then you have a connection. They don't live there. They live in New Jersey, or they live in Tennessee, they live in California. That is a person who doesn't live at that property. That's oceanfront direct. So now you're going to send them a postcard. Hey, if you've never rented your property before, you might want to consider renting it now.
Wow. Jennifer, you've just been dropping so much golden nuggets in this episode, and I'm sure that we could keep on talking, but I've taken up a lot of your time. Man, I didn't even get into all of the questions that I usually do, but what if you could just answer this one? What if you could go back from scratch? What's one thing that you would do differently?
I would have hired somebody sooner. I wouldn't have worried about, trying to do it all myself, because I almost got burned out. I almost sold this company. I almost walked away from it. And that would have been a huge mistake. I am so in love with this company and the people that I work with. The staff members that I work with are the best people I know, and they love our owners and our guests and each other. And we just love what we do. So don't wait too long to hire your first employee.
Awesome. And what's the best way if anybody wants to be able to reach out to you if they have any other questions, Jennifer?
It's easy, Jennifer at greatoceancondos.com. You could also Google Jennifer Frankenstein because there's just me, and you'll be able to find me that way too.
All right. Well, thank you so much, Jennifer, for taking the time. And until next time, Host Nation, keep on hosting.
Thanks so much.
Hope you hosts benefited from the show. If you found value, please go on over to iTunes, leave us a review, and let us know what you enjoy about the show. If you'd like to talk to hosts that have been featured in these episodes as well as the community, go on over to our Facebook group, The Host Nation.